and where. So those are the things that you may want to continuously monitor to make sure that your enterprise is a success in the Web API enablement journey. So we've seen what Web API is and the need for Web APIs and why it is very important for enterprises to embrace Web APIs today. We also saw that Web APIs is just not about REST enabling all of your enterprise assets and information or the relevant ones. It's more than that. It's about a whole bunch of functions around it that surround the API. So if you look at it, it's about how you manage the APIs. So that's what entails API management, the act of how you govern the APIs, how you spot the right assets to expose as APIs, how you go about designing the integrations that expose these assets as easy to use REST APIs, how you go about enforcing your business model that you put for the application developers, how do you enforce the entitlements and the legal terms and conditions, how do you enable the gathering of metrics around API usage, how do you enable application developers to come and socialize with you around your APIs. So those are the kind of things that go into the space of Web API management. So we understand that defining Web API is one thing and Web API management is another thing, and you really need a technology backing to do all of this, right? It's not something that you can deal with a few lines of code written in some programming language. So you need a very sound technology to back up the business of APIs, and this is what we'll get to see in the upcoming slides. So first and foremost, before we look at the technology, let's look at who the actors are. Who are the people that we are talking about here, whom we should be taking care of? So we've seen that the key guy is the external application developer who wants to develop new applications against APIs, is very conversant with web programming languages, and the application developer's passion is to develop apps, innovative, creative apps, mashing up APIs from different quarters. So you have the business user who wants to reach new markets through new channels, who understands the business and value of the assets that are planned to be exposed as APIs, needs to experiment with different programs and campaigns to drive adoption, and product manages the initiative. So these are the goals lying ahead of a business user. And you have the IT person. So this is a person who we haven't spoken about much up to now. All this while we've been talking about the business angle to it and the application developer as being the hero in this whole game. There is this IT developer who's IT person, sorry, who is a part of the enterprise that is enabling APIs. So this person's responsibility would be to expose to public APIs, and this is the person who worries about securing and scaling your APIs, right? So he's the one or she's the one who translates your API vision from a business angle to the technology angle. So these actors have to do a whole bunch of things. So here is a summary of the kind of things that each of them have to do. So for a business user, the business user needs mechanism to go and easily define APIs, set up service levels and entitlements around the APIs. Then after having done that, would like to publish and socialize the APIs, manage development around it, which is manage the application developers who are consuming the APIs, and also gain some insight into the applications and the API usages, so that that can be related to the business value, right? So the external application developer wants a means by which he or she can quickly sign up for the APIs that you expose. He would like to have some quick help in terms of the documentation that surrounds the APIs you've exposed, access to a community knowledge base, samples, and other popular apps that have used the APIs and which are doing well, things like that. A sandbox for testing the APIs very quickly to see if everything works, and also some means by which the user can, the application developer can gain some insight as to how well his application is doing regards to this API usage. So you also have the IT person who ends up getting entrusted with the task of assembling the APIs, exposing the business assets and information and data and services to the external world, securing them, scaling them as appropriate, and this IT person also needs some insight into the performance of the work that he is engaged in, which is how the APIs are performing, how the integrations are performing, and things like that. So you have a whole bunch of things that need to be accomplished by these different actors. So much so it becomes very clear that there is web API management that is distributed with different actors, and you need some sort of a platform in the middle that can help you all of this very quickly. So we are talking about a single consistent platform to define, assemble, test, document, socialize, secure, scale, and monitor your APIs. That's a whole bunch of things that you want to do around APIs, and you'd like to preferably do it in a single platform so that they're all remaining consistent and uniform to deal with. And also, you don't want to leave out application developers. In the same pitch and tone, you also want to engage very actively with external application developers who are the key consumers of your APIs. So in net, we are actually talking about this arc that you see that is in between the circle that represents the enterprise and the external world. So this is the platform that is the need of the hour, where you have application developers who can look up for APIs, register their applications, subscribe for entitlements, and so on one side. And on the other side, you can have your enterprise define APIs, expose them for a broad-based consumption. So let's look at the technology that we have in place for this platform. So here is where I would like to bring in WebSphere Cast-Iron Live Web API Services. Now this is an offering that we have in the public cloud precisely for helping enterprises to jump quickly and get moving in this web API game. This is available as a trial version as well, in the sense you could go out and subscribe yourselves to try this cloud service in its full capabilities. It's not like for a trial some of the capabilities are stubbed out. No, all of the capabilities that are available on this cloud service is pretty much at your service. You could go and try them out for free for 90 days. And I will share the link for this particular cloud service towards the end of this presentation. So for now, let me quickly go through the different capabilities that this cloud service offers. So there are, at a very high level, the categorization of capabilities is along the lines of helping folks to create and manage APIs and also be able to socialize them. So you have DevOps dashboard for easy assembly of new APIs, and you have ways in which you can secure and manage the APIs. On the other side, for a business person, there is a place where you can look up API metrics, set quotas for the APIs, manage communities that are users of these APIs, and monitor the service levels. And for the other side of the spectrum, which is the application developer, there is a portal self-service portal that that is there, which can be created for every enterprise to publish its APIs and engage very actively with the application developer community. So let's quickly look at each of these capabilities. I do admit that this is not where I can take you through the depths of all the capabilities that this offering offers. I'm sure that after this presentation, each of you would be tempted to go and try this on your own as part of the trial version. So at the moment, I will restrict myself to touching upon the different perspectives of capabilities that this offering provides. So let's quickly move to the space of the create capability. So this is a capability which allows which allows an enterprise to go and define APIs and integrate to backend enterprise information and assets. So this is enabled without any coding. So in this entire offering, there is no coding that anybody has to do, any of the roles have to do to achieve value or achieve the work that they want to So here is where, through a bunch of very simple steps, an enterprise can go define APIs. The first step would be to define the API, and then the next step would be to associate or link resources to this API. So here is an example where we've named an API as Acme HR API, and we've added a resource called employees out here, which is to be associated with this API. And there is this operation that we've associated with this resource called employees, which is a get operation. So after you define the API and associate a resource, what you have to next do is integrate this API resource to your backend asset, your enterprise asset or information. So if your enterprise asset is already HTTP enabled, you may just about set up a HTTP proxy to that backend resource. Or alternatively, there are a whole bunch of connectors out there on this platform that can help you connect to your enterprise assets and map the backend enterprise resources to the API resources that you've just now defined. So this is achieved again by just configurations and no coding. So once you've defined your APIs, there is another tab that you can switch over to define the security and scalability aspects of your APIs. Now here is where you actually go and define several different entitlements. So you could go and set up an entitlement called basic service level that allows for 100 calls per minute and enforces that the user of this API furnishes just the application ID, and that getting an application ID for using this API actually requires no additional approval. So that is one kind of an entitlement. Another entitlement could be where you enforce that the API needs ID and secret to be passed and requires approval for the application to be provided an application ID and secret. So these are the kind of things that you can do as part of setting up entitlements. Sorry, I got a little distracted by a chat that appeared on this webinar console. Okay, all right. Sorry, let me continue. So you can set up different entitlements and associate them with the APIs. Then you could also test the API that you just now defined. So there is a tab on which you can do this as well. So that completes the API creation task per se. Next, you could go over and observe how your API is doing. Once you've set the API in motion, you can see how well it's getting used and what is the response time. So there is a separate task called separate tab called metrics over which you can do this. And then there is also an additional dashboard that can help the IT guy who we spoke about to dig a little bit deep into how the APIs are doing from the integrations perspective. Remember, we spoke about APIs having to integrate with your backend assets and information. So what's happening from that front? So there is a dashboard that provides you an insight into what's happening in that space as well. So that completes a bunch of things that you can do with the Create. I'm sure you will find a lot more interesting things as you dig deeper and explore the different options that are out there. So let's look at the socialize capability in the Casta and Web API platform. So through socialize, so the story is like this. You've gone and defined the APIs now, and now they're ready for consumption. So you want to go off and catalog your APIs. You want to create a portal of your own branded portal, where you want to list all of your APIs and also add with it a bunch of documentations that you want to associate with it, and the entitlement information, and a whole bunch of things that you want to publish out there as a portal, so that you can then invite your application developers to this portal. And this portal becomes the space where your application developers go and register their applications, obtain application ID and secret. Now, application ID secret, this is a security model that's very popularly today known under OAuth. So this is the in thing, and that's what the Web API platform from Casta offers as well. So application developers can look up your Web APIs in this portal. They can register their applications, obtain application IDs. They can subscribe for certain levels of entitlements. They can also go and manage their entitlements. So somewhere down the line, I find that my application is a great success, and I find a whole a bunch of people who've jumped onto my application, and so I need better entitlements in the sense that I want to be using more API calls, and so I want to change the initial entitlement, those kind of things. So I can do all of that from a particular view in this portal. And then finally, I'm looking at an API as an application developer that you published on this portal. So I should be able to do a quick sanity test. Does this API work or not, right? So there is a tab here, there is a view here on this portal using which the application developer can do that as well to ascertain if the API works. And then we spoke about the value of metrics all along. So there are dashboards that can give an insight to the application developer regards how the application is doing, what is its usage and its usage of the APIs and things like that. So that completes the story for the business owner who wants to socialize APIs, as well as for the application developer who wants to reach out, understand your APIs, test it, and then subscribe to the APIs, registering the application and things like that. So that covers the socialize part and the creation part. Now let's look at what you have as part of management capabilities on this Casta and Web API platform. So first and foremost, you have the option for the business user to go out there and align the APIs to the business goals. So if there is an API that needs to be publicly available, or over a period of time, it's like you have to make it private and then public. So those kind of things can be done by a business owner. There could be additional documentation that could be associated with the API. Then management of developers can happen. Remember, we spoke about application developers subscribing for entitlement, subscribing for application ID and secret. So that flows in to the business user as a request, which the business user can process and take forward. So there is a dashboard on which the user can do those activities, the business owner can do those kind of activities. And then, of course, is the bunch of dashboards around the metrics that have been collected all along. So a business owner can get a very good view of which of the several APIs are popular and how very well they are being used, and which of the apps that have been using the APIs are doing well. Those kind of views are possible, and they are available as part of the manage perspective of the Web API platform of Cast Iron.